Welcome everyone, I'm Kingly Valence, and thanks for watching this fun Spore video. Today, we are playing as a tank in Spore. And what are tanks best known for in Spore? That's right, shooting missiles. We're bringing the power of the Industrial Revolution and modern military technology back in time into creature stage. And this is all possible using Cheat Engine and no other mods. Which means this is all built into the game and has always been possible. We just needed Cheat Engine to remove the artificial limits of Spore and allow us to use the creature creators in ways not normally available to us. However, we are still technically a creature with vehicle parts placed on top. But with enough building skills, we can make it fully appear to be playing as a tank. And getting vehicle parts into creature stage is really interesting, and shows how much more Spore can truly handle, beyond what's normally available to us in the creature creators. To get this to work, let's enter the creature creator from the main menu, and we can drop in any creature with its saved PNG. All creations in Spore are saved as PNGs. We can also drop in different creation types, like a tank PNG, and Spore will automatically switch us into the corresponding editor. Spore will detect the PNG we're dropping in was originally from a different editor, and will switch us into the correct one. However, using Cheat Engine, we can prevent Spore from switching editors, while still placing in the creation from the PNG. In Cheat Engine, we need the address that controls what editor Spore thinks we're in, and I've shown how to get these memory addresses in a few different videos. This memory address controls what editor type we're in, and will list the editor's corresponding value. And I went through and found every value for every editor and put them into a spreadsheet. And here, in the Military Land Vehicle Editor, we have this value. And by using Cheat Engine, we can swap this value for something else. Let's switch the value for Military Land for the Creature Creator. This won't visually change what editor we're in, but Spore now thinks we're in the Creature Creator. So when we drop in our creature into the game, we don't switch editors, and the creature appears. The creature's body doesn't appear properly while in vehicle editors, so this does look a bit cursed. But don't worry, the body will return once we get into creature stage. But from here, we're now free to use these vehicle parts from these pallets on our creature. However, we can only use the parts that stick to the other creature parts. We can't use the bodies or cockpit pallets, since those are free floating parts in this editor, and will cause some weird issues on our creature if we bring those into creature stage. But the rest of the parts will work. But we are pushing Spore a little past its comfort zone here, so it makes sense if it might not all work perfectly. I like using Cheat Engine in these videos to show this is all possible completely mod-free. However, I know Cheat Engine isn't for everyone, so I wanted to show a cool mod to make this part a lot easier. Using the Miscellaneous Cheats Mod by Vanilla Cold will allow us to bring in any kind of creation into any editor. Using the changeEditorModel command, this will bring up the full Sporepedia and allow us to choose any creation, and our selected creation will be placed directly into the editor. This extra cheat command is super useful, and will even let us switch creatures during creature stage as well, which normally isn't possible, and I haven't even found a way to do this with Cheat Engine either. But for working with our creature tank hybrids, both methods should work for everything we're doing today. With our Groxo car in the vehicle editor, we can place some giant tank missile launchers on their head to make a very funny looking creature. Or with enough creativity, we can make it look entirely like a tank, encasing the creature inside. This really makes it look like we're an actual tank. But with our creature tank, Spore won't let us save, but we can use Cheat Engine or another force save mod to save the creation. And I'll link both these mods and everything needed for Cheat Engine in the description. And now we can get our creation into creature stage. Load up creature stage, select build our own, and that'll bring us into the early creature editor. And we can still drop creation PNGs into this editor before we enter creature stage. Since we last saved our creature tank in the vehicle editor, it is saved as a vehicle, which we can see in the My Spore Creations folder. Our creature tank is saved in the vehicle folder. With Cheat Engine, switch the value for the early creature editor for the vehicle editor, and that will allow us to drop our creation into the editor. Or using the very convenient changeEditorModel command, and we can get our creature tank in here as well. And huge thanks to Irish Soup Can for making this creation. This creature looks really cool, and really makes it look like we're an actual tank. But before we load into creature stage, why did we need to start with a creature and then put on vehicle parts? Why can't we just get a regular vehicle into the creature creator? And yes, we can get pure vehicles into the editor. However, Spore will crash if we try to load into creature stage, or even use the test drive mode. For creations to work properly in creature stage, creatures require an actual body for Spore to function correctly. Vehicles, and even buildings or spaceships, are purely just parts. And when we swap these into the creature creator, they replace the entire creature model that was there before. There's no body or spine anymore. We were super lucky that the plant creations had enough of a body for them to work perfectly in the creature role. But since pure vehicles don't work, we need to start with a creature as a base, add the vehicle parts on top, then bring the creature back here. And now we can force Spore to save and load into creature stage. And now we fully appear as a tank in creature stage, and we can still socialize and attack these creatures, and progress through creature stage like normal. But how did we get those missiles to fire from our creatures? We aren't really a tank, so what are these? Those missiles are actually the Galactic Adventure Captain abilities placed on our creature as well. What's really cool about this creation hybridization is we can chain our creature through multiple editors, putting on as many different types of creation parts on as we want. We started out using the military land vehicle editor to place on vehicle parts, but when we're done here, we can use the same tricks to bring our creature tank into different editors like the Spaceship Editor. The Spaceship Editor is really the ultimate vehicle editor because it has everything from all the different military, religious, and economic vehicles, plus all the spaceship parts. This gives us the freedom to pick and choose from even more parts we want on our hybrid creature. And when we're done with vehicle and spaceship parts, why not take a stop in the building editors? We're super tiny in the building editors, but we can add some parts on from here as well. Spore is normally super strict about what kind of parts can go on what, but now we can pass through every editor like an all-you-can-eat buffet. But it might be easier to see if we put the captain parts on first, before the building and vehicle parts. But thankfully we can pass our creation through these editors in any order we'd like. After putting on all the different parts we want, from all the different editors, we can still bring our combo creation into creature stage. But yeah, the textures for certain vehicle parts we have on don't work correctly with the creature textures, so we're slightly transparent. Well, this is kind of cool, and I wanted to show what can happen with these textures. It is a bit hard to see our creature. Some palettes were better than others, but some can create some very interesting and strange results, so make sure to save often in case crashes occur. But thankfully, Irish Soup Can and I went through every vehicle part and found all the parts that worked with the creature textures, which is how this creature tank works so well. But only about a third of the parts from the Spaceship Editor work perfectly with the creature textures. Also good to know that while our captain gear will work in the creature creators, once we get into creature stage, the captain ability icons don't appear properly, and we can't select them. But our creature can still use whatever is in the first combat or social slot when interacting with another creature, including Energy Slash and Harmonious Song. Even though our personal creature can't use all the captain abilities, the other members from our species, including our packmates, can use all of them in creature stage. And I found if we leave the normal spit ability intact for creature stage, we can direct our packmates to attack from a distance, and they will use the missiles, and we can take out multiple creatures at once and extinct this entire nest in one shot. And we made another video with just captain parts on regular creatures before, if you want to see even more overpowered captain shenanigans. But since this video, we've realized there's so much more freedom in the kinds of parts we can put on our creature, which unlocks another whole world of creativity for Spore. And the insanity doesn't just end with creature stage. These captain abilities will work on all of our creatures in tribal stage. And with our tank creatures, it's like another civilization stage, sending our fleet to destroy these poor tribes with artillery. This is one of the most hilarious things I've ever seen in all my years of Spore. Driving tanks and shooting missiles at tribes. I can just hear the military voice as I send them into attack. And this is all possible in unmodded Spore with a bit of cheat engine to bypass Max's restraints. And we can take down an epic with our missiles and captain gear in record time. And down it goes. Oh, and someone's trying to raid us? Not a chance. This is all super fun to play with, but if installing mods or using cheat engine is out of your reach, to make playing this even easier for everyone watching, I'll make a couple of saves at the start of creature stage and tribal stage available in the description. These are super easy to swap between your current Spore saves and with these. All is needed is to move or temporarily rename your current Spore folder in roaming and replace it with mine. Then when you launch Spore, you'll have my exact galaxy with all my saves. Doing this will skip the hard part of the initial setup to bring these hybrid creations into the game. Since now they're already present and saved, loading up Spore from my save state, you can launch directly into one of these games and play it yourself. Once again, huge thanks to Irish Soup Can, Vanilla Cold, and Valachan for these amazing creations and mods to make this process even easier. This really gives a new definition to the freedom command. And of course, our tank creatures immediately start thinking of explosions and making more tanks. I guess it's just in their nature. But I love experimenting and combining all the different editors together and using the captain abilities. And let me know what other kinds of crazy creations you've come up with as well. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm Kingly Valence, and I'll see you next time.